So I told you it was a dirty job. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Now I do. You know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to show you the importance of a radiator. And most of you may think it's important and know it's important. Some of you might take it a little for granted. But you need to know how important this is. So I'm going to use an analogy of a dog. We all know dogs pant, right? So when your thermostat opens up, that's basically when this starts panting. If this can't pant properly or enough, your engine overheats. If it overheats too much and can't get cool, your dog dies. In other words, your engine dies eventually. And also, to have peak performance, just like people, if we overheat, we can't have peak performance. And so we need to have that coolant system proper, especially if you've got a turbocharged car and you want to get every ounce of performance out of it. So what I'm going to do is take you through basically reconditioning a older radiator, aluminum radiator particularly in this case, and bring you through the process I do to try and get them back. I'm going to say about 98% effective. If they're a little damaged, and you're going to see some of the damage on the fins and how I correct that, how I clean them out, and I polish them up to make them look nice in case they're in a show as well, and I'll take you through that. So that's what this video is about, folks. Don't hesitate to drop any comments on what you see, and I also want to thank everyone that's already been joining up on this. Thank you so much. And for those of you that like what you see as you watch this video, check out my other ones if you want as well. There's a bit of a journey on this path of where this channel is going, and hopefully you can kind of see that, those of you that already tuned in. So with that little prelude of what we're going to be doing today, let's get on with it. Come on. So now we're going to take care of this aluminum fluidine radiator. This fluidine radiator is, back in the day, was what everybody used for road racing, whatever. It's blue aluminum. I don't even think you can buy these anymore, but they're a really good radiator, built really good and really tough. This is one of, I think, the original units, the way it's made. They put this on here, so that's why you can tell it's a little older. You can tell it's a little bit dirty, so I'm going to clean it. I'm going to actually buff some of this out too, so just kind of go through the procedure that I do. You're going to see, especially on this backside where I think someone bent with wrenches and stuff, the fins are bent. I am going to straighten a lot of those out, but the first thing I like to do is clean and buff it in case I accidentally bump it. I'm really careful on not doing that, but you just never know. So the way I clean these, the first thing I'll end up doing, because you can see there's bugs in there, is I'll take some high pressure air to it, like 100 psi or something, with a little blowgun. If you're doing that, just make sure you blow straight in. If you blow with too much pressure to the sides, you're going to bend those fins, especially when you go downward or upward where the bars are there. Just make sure that you blow straight on and you won't bend the fins. It looks like you're going down the road. No big deal. I mean, you're getting lots of flow through there anyway at that point. And then after I blow it all out, I'll end up taking, this is Simple Green. Simple Green is your friend in the shop if you guys haven't used it. I just buy it by the jug and use a spray bottle and cleans lots of things. It actually can use as a temporary lubrication for putting hoses on. Taking hoses off sometimes it works. It's got a little tricks in there that you probably can find on the internet too that works with them. I'll probably end up showing you how I use it off and on too, but it is your friend. It smells good. I also know that if you atomize it, it's not good for your lungs, so you might want to need a mask if you are blowing it off with a pressure gun too as well, and it's getting back to you. After, what I do is I'll spray it with Simple Green, let it soak, not too long really, maybe a few minutes, and then I'll take either a garden hose, and now I have used, I might even use in this one because it's pretty dirty, I have used a pressure washer. Again, with any type of pressure, whether it's from your garden hose or a pressure washer, if you go straight on, you will not bend those fins. I've done this many times, and as long as you don't, go on an angle, you will be okay and you won't bend any fins. But make sure you do that, And don't go too close. You know, make sure you're around, I'd say 6-8 inches away. Like that's the closest you should get to it. After 12 inches, you're kind of defeating the purpose a little bit because it's just getting too sprayed out. And use a kind of more directional jet on your garden hose or your pressure washer, whatever you're using. If you're really shy of using that pressure washer, use your garden hose, and you might have to do a couple of these. If I use a pressure washer, sometimes I add the soap dispenser to it as well, because that does help. Ideally warm water. It doesn't have to be hot, warm water. If you have access to that with your garden hose or pressure washer is ideal. And they come out pretty clean. So after doing that, I will take the blowgun from the air compressor again and just blow it out, because that helps get out some grime. I guess another thing I should say is when you're doing all this, you can tilt it against a wall or have it up, but if you have it right against a piece of concrete or something like that, it will work with the water, but sometimes you can't get the proper flow because the closer the back is of a surface to it, you can't get flow through. It's basically stopping that flow. So you want at least an air gap that things can flow through between whatever surface it's on and the surface and the radiator itself. So make sure you do that. After I do that and it's dry, then I get into my polishing regime. And sometimes if there's heavy scratches, I'll use a fine wire wheel. Very seldom I'll do that because then it's a lot of work polishing again, but if sometimes there's really bad scratches and I want to do a really great job, I will do that first. It's just easy to get the little scratches out rather than trying to polish them out, because the polish is only good for, you know, with surface scratches and that. What I've used, there's many different ways to do that, but I use a simple drill. Sometimes I put the drill in a vise if I want a stationary thing. I don't actually have a buffer wheel. I do want to get one. I just haven't got around to it. This suffices right now. I bought one of these. You can get these at, I think online, a lot of places. Harbor Freight in Canada, it's Princess Auto, whatever. These work good. Comes with a little sheet on what type of what type of metal that you're doing and what stages you should do. It's got a little star of what kind of was normally up to and that, and how fine you want it. I actually went to the website of this manufacturer and printed out for bigger, and I laminated it just for my own use. Another thing I like to do is, because when you go down the different colors, so that how coarse and how fine you want the polish, I never want contamination. So I use Ziploc bags, for instance the black polishing compound, and I've got all what I use for buffing, the buffers themselves, all in the bag, and that is just to make sure you don't contaminate. I also will use a cleaner of some type between each stage, just to try and get all the previous compound, which is always coarse, to the next compound off. Isopropanol is really good at kind of as a last stage, but I find isopropanol doesn't get really the first bit off. So sometimes I actually use Simple Green, kind of get it out. That leaves a residue as well. I've used glass cleaner. I haven't found anything perfect that does it all in one step. You may have ideas, put them in the comments. Love to hear them, I'm sure everyone else would. I'm a bit of self-taught, internet taught on this myself. I have had good luck, but I'm guessing I probably could do it a lot faster possibly if I knew some other shortcuts that I'm sure a lot of you may be watching out there know. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is start the process, and I'll probably do a bit. If I have something to explain, I'll slow it down, but other than that I might just do a time lapse. The other thing, this is a very, very, very dirty job once you get into polishing. If any of you ever done it, you know what I mean. If you do it inside your shop, you are going to get dust and polishing compound kind of settle everywhere. You'll see, I got to clean all my cars up because I was polishing over the past winter, and everything in the shop was just dirty. I've cleaned as I went, but the cars just got caked on, and that's obviously not great, and I'll have to be careful when I wash them. So what I try to do is save my polishing now for outside when it's summer or warmer out. and leave all the mess there, because it really flies all over the place. Even though you think it's contained, it doesn't. The other way you could do it is if you've got some type of booth just for this somewhere, you've put, you know, kind of isolated somewhere of sealed up in your shop so it doesn't go anywhere. But it's much worse than sandblasting. I'll be honest. I've got a sandblaster in the corner, and I seem to be able to contain that pretty good with sealing up the cabinet and that. But this is quite messy, and because it's quite messy and quite fine, I do suggest that you do some type of eye protection. Just, you don't want to get that in your eyes because it's kind of ugly. You don't have to get carried away with the mask, depending how sensitive you are. N95s are, because of the pandemic we've had, I've got lots of those. I'll probably end up using that. I got a little beefier mask here. And of course, if you want to use the respirator, which I do use occasionally, this is more for pore 15, if you ever dealt with that, and some chemicals that I don't want to inhale that are quite harmful to you. Back when I was young, I thought this was all crap and you didn't have to worry about safety, but I do think it's a really good idea all your life to do it. And a lot of us learn the hard way. I haven't any lung problems, but I've certainly had some injuries as far as eye injuries as well, from shrapnel from a wire wheel, drill press things flying around. So just make sure you're safe. Take the time, because it can make, if you got, especially you got to go a trip to the hospital or worse, it makes the job a lot longer if you get injured. I know you're trying to take shortcuts, we all do it, but just don't do it. So I told you it was a dirty job. You can see that that was a very, very dirty job, and I don't enjoy doing it. And this thing has some deep scratches in it, so what I did is I spent most of the time on the surfaces that are seen, which is really the top. The rest is pretty covered up, actually. The bottom can be seen if it's on a lift or something, I guess, the car. The sides aren't seen. The front actually won't be seen because of the intercooler and stuff that's going to be in front of it as well. But the top is usually the best part of it to be seen. So there you can see where I guess I got some little cleanup there a bit to you. You can see the spots a little bit. There's some of that's the shadows too, but yeah, she's all cleaned up. And now I'm going to go to the next thing that I don't call it painful, but it is tedious, is cleaning up all those fins and making them straight. So I'm going to do that. The other thing that I'm going to do is the sensor here. It's actually needs a little tweaking as well. So I'm going to take that out and put a wire wheel on it. The drain outlet as well. I'm going to wire wheel that and make it shiny as well. May as well, since it's out and easy to do and emptied right now, just wire wheel and put that back in. So there they are, all dirty, and I'll snap my fingers. Presto, there we go. That's it. So they're all cleaned up. They'll be fine. The O-ring is actually fine. I removed it, so it'll be good. Good as new, and I'll put them in. The other thing, you might have noticed I was wearing these earmuffs, and over the years I end up getting ringing a lot when things are loud for a while, and realize that's actually a good idea. So I suggest, again, no matter how tolerant you think you are, wear ear protection as well. You don't want to get deaf when you get older or have problems with hearing. That comes naturally as it is, and you don't want to encourage it. Now, I will just do the bending of the fins, and that's a pretty exciting job, as I said. I have it finally finished. Just in case you're wondering about me being a little OCD about this, remember this is a turbocharged car, and other than inside the turbine itself, heat is your enemy. And why have a radiator this big if you're going to plug up a bunch of holes? So this was the good side in the first place. I'll just flip it around. And you can see it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. You can look back and rewind if you want to see how bad it was, but they'll all flow really good now. Basically what will happen now is the rad fans, when they go on, will cover up the look of it, I guess, pretty good, and it'll look fine. It was a lot of hours. I think I spent 3 hours basically doing this tedious thing. I have done different things. I've tried needle nose pliers. I've tried little tongs and stuff. I've tried those. Don't ever get them. Those little, they're kind of like rakes that are supposed to help, but they don't work. And I find just using a couple of these little flat screwdrivers and just going up basically each bar of fins and just put them where they need to be. Some of these are really crushed bad, as you can see. There's an intercooler in the front of this as well, so you want to make sure all the air is flowing as much as it can, and the cooling is doing its job. So there you have it, folks. That's what I do to recondition, refurbish basically an older radiator and getting it back to new. And you'll see how this goes into the car that I'm working on. And next videos will be also showing a little more on that car and how I'm making it better. And until then, thank you for joining Slip in Time. Don't forget to subscribe and share, please, if you like this sort of stuff. And stay tuned for more. Until then, please be kind, stay healthy, and enjoy every day.